it going, everybody, and welcome to Join the Party, the show where I talk about stuff I love, bring you guys a bit of news, and hopefully look like kind of a fool and say some stupid stuff that you guys get to correct in the comments, because that's what people love to do on YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about the PlayStation Vita. But first, let's get into the news. First up, we have video game news. Cliff Bleszinski's studio, Boss Key Productions, is no more. After their commercial failure with Jawbreakers, they swung for the fences trying to do their own battle royale called Radical Heights, I believe it was called, and it just didn't pan out for them. And you know, it sucks to see studios go down like this, because there's a bunch of people that work for studios, and they often have to relocate where they live. They have to uproot their family. Hopefully these people can find some awesome places to work in the future, in video games, and what they love to do. Up next, Sony has done it. They are ceasing production on all physical media for the PlayStation Vita. And it's kind of a kick in the pants to all the Vita lovers out there. I know today's episode is going to be a lot more about the Vita, but it just sucks to see that it's been on its last leg for so long, and it's like Sony just kicked the other leg out from under it while it was limping. Now for a little Destiny news, the Warmind DLC dropped a little while ago, and what would you expect but for people to really not like what's going on? So the Warmind story is absurdly short, from what I hear. I haven't played the game because I didn't feel like buying Destiny 2, so this is all secondhand news. But the story mode is extremely short, and then they have the strikes. I played a lot of Destiny 1. The strikes were awesome. That was the thing that I did most of. So there are 3 new strikes. 2 of the strikes are just repurposed from the campaign. And the 3rd strike is a PlayStation 4 exclusive, and it's the only thing that's new. So the PC players, the Xbox players, they're all getting kind of shafted by Bungie, and no one is happy about it. Maybe except for the PlayStation 4 players. They might be fine. And last up, Rage 2. I know not a lot of people like this game, but Rage 1 I had a blast with back in the day. But Rage 2, Walmart Canada just announced, they didn't really announce, they leaked a bunch of games. One, I didn't know Walmart was in Canada, but they released a whole bunch of information about games that were going to be coming out. Rage 2 was one of those. Rage 2 then got a teaser trailer announcement on the 14th, and you know what? Looks awesome. And I'm so stoked for Rage, and I'm really excited for this game to come out. People are saying that it's going to fill the void that Borderlands 3 is going to be leaving right now, because apparently Borderlands 3 is a lot further off than people thought it was going to be. But Rage 2, come on, man. If you guys are excited for Rage 2, let me know in the comments. It seems like it's going to be an awesome game. I really liked the first one. The ending was weird. It didn't really do much there, but I had fun with the shooting. I didn't really do much of the racing. The racing annoyed me. Didn't care for that much. But there were crazy people in it, and I think it's just going to be a blast to play Rage 2. And now on to the movie news. And I only have one thing for the movie news this week, and that is Solo, a Star Wars story, coming out May 25th, 2018. So pretty soon. The embargo has been lifted, and people are releasing all of their reviews. Now the reviews have me very confused, because I'll watch one review and they're like, you know what, movie was poorly structured and it's boring. And the next review comes out and people are like, oh my goodness, it's so much fun, you have a grin on your face the entire time you're watching it. Next review, you know what, kind of boring, don't really care for it. Next review, it was amazing, it was so much fun, all of it was just so great with the western elements and the heist elements. Next review, you know what, didn't really care for any of the characters. The reviews are so absurdly annoying, but I do know that there are specific people I follow, because these people have tastes like mine. They like movies the same way I like movies. One is Jeremy Johns. I'm gonna link his review down, you know, in the little section underneath the video, because he has a great review. I think he really breaks it down. He loves Star Wars, so he really wants this movie to do well. And then also the Schmoes No fellas, I really like their reviews. I think they're just awesome dudes who love movies like everybody else does. They're not crazy critics that think they're above everything else. Those are the people I follow. And personally, I'm probably a little biased. I want the movie to do good. I want every movie to do good because I want everything I see to be awesome. But I think the movie looks stupid. And also, I don't care about these anthologies for Star Wars. I just want Star Wars. I don't care about all this extra stuff. I don't need the lead up to Han Solo. I have Han Solo where he is at the most important part of the story. I don't need any background. Why? And we're rounding it out with comic books news. This isn't really news, it's just me asking a question. I've heard a lot about this comic book called Jawbreakers, and there's apparently this massive uproar between two subsects of people, and they're all pissed off at each other. And I don't understand what's going on. I've been looking up news, I've been looking up all the information trying to figure it out, but it's just one side screaming, oh, screw all the SJWs. And then it's the other side screaming, oh, you guys are fascists. And I read the description of the comic. It doesn't seem like it has anything about politics in it. It just seems like kind of a superhero comic. And also, it has great artists attached to it. I don't know who the writer is, but the artists, they did what? Like, they did Green Lantern comics. They did a bunch of good stuff. So if you guys can fill me in on what I'm obviously missing, because I have no idea what this big uproar is. Comic book shops are even saying that they will not stock it, and I just don't understand what's happening. Now, it's time to get to the topic of the episode. Thinking about calling the topic of the episode the tote. Let me know how that goes. Maybe it'll sound stupid. The tote today is... The tote today is the PlayStation Vita. My little baby boy over here. The PlayStation Vita. The PlayStation Vita has had its ups and downs, mainly downs. And I just want to start off talking about a article that Colin Moriarty wrote back in the day. And that article is entitled, "The PlayStation Vita is Set to Succeed." And a lot of people look back on that and they scoff and they laugh about it. But hindsight's 20/20, guys. And I think Colin had some very salient points. He kind of tried to read the future and thought this was going to be a huge success for Sony off the back of the PSP, which did amazing in its own right as a handheld. At the time he wrote this article, the Vita hadn't come out yet, and he played games for it like Gravity Rush, Uncharted Golden Abyss, Escape Plan, Sound Shapes. He played games that looked like it was going to be system sellers. They looked like they were phenomenal. They were phenomenal games for the system, but Sony didn't stick with it, and they didn't have third parties develop a bunch for the Vita itself. They kind of gave up with it after a year of it being on shelves. He made some great points about the connectivity that the device had. It hooks up with the PlayStation Network, which at the time you could get a Nintendo 3DS and you couldn't do much with it besides play like little chibi games. But the power difference, what the Vita had under the hood, was phenomenal. And he also made a pretty big point that the Vita's not going up against the 3DS. They're both handhelds, but to say that they're in the same league is kind of false. And the point he postulated was that the Vita was going to go up against iPhones and Android phones, which it makes sense. And I'm not going to say that I know why the Vita failed. If it failed, numbers wise, I guess it failed. But the people who love the Vita love the Vita. Going up against something like a cell phone, which everyone has in their pocket. I mean, they're amazing computers. You're paying what? $800, $900 for this thing. So it better have pretty good graphics capabilities and the ability to play games online with other people. The PlayStation Vita, I got mine for $250. The memory card is absurd. I have like the 8 gig memory card because I can't afford anything else, so I just have to keep swapping out games. But other than the memory card and Sony kind of dropping out on them, I don't fully understand why this system didn't do well with the average customer. Maybe the title, maybe the name. They wanted PSP 2 or PSP Revival or PSP Revamp. The most special thing about the PlayStation Vita is the ecosystem. if you meet somebody who has a Vita, or you talk to somebody about games, and you both come to the realization that you love your Vitas, you have a friend. You have a new friend, and you guys are going to be great buddies from now on. Because Vita owners just love each other. It's like we're all in this together. We all have this system that no one apparently has. It has, what, 5 million units sold? I should probably look that up. I'm an idiot. About 15 million units sold. I undersold it by so much. My own beloved child, I undersold by so much. When it comes to the hardware you got on this bad boy, the form function of it, the screens. This isn't the first one, but the first one had an OLED screen. That screen was absolutely gorgeous. The buttons are so clickable. Can you hear that? Oh, it's beautiful. The buttons are so well made. It has the dual analog sticks. The 3DS, I mean, they even admit that they had an oversight, and you have to buy like this thing that you stick onto it to make a nice pseudo, second stick. But everything about this, the shoulder buttons are amazing. The screen quality is wonderful. The power on this thing, I will digress that the touchpad on the back is kind of stupid. I don't like it. I don't like it when it's implemented in games. I don't feel Tearaway was fine, but I don't feel like using a touchpad on the back of my screen, or necessarily to touch the front of my screen. I just want to use buttons like a normal human being. And one of the biggest things going for the Vita was the support it got from indie developers. Indie developers pretty much kept this thing alive for 80% of its life cycle up to now. On that note, I'd never really played indie games. I wasn't a person who cared for indie games, or I guess like below AA, whatever all the new terminology for this stuff is. I never cared for that kind of stuff. I always thought it was for people who couldn't play real video games. Like instead of playing God of War, you play Patapon. What in the world is that supposed to be? But I bought my Vita to play Persona 4 Golden. And then I got Final Fantasy X. And then Final Fantasy VII. And then Final Fantasy IX. I guess you can kind of see what games I love with this. After these sprawling JRPGs and crazy action games and first-person shooters that I was playing, I went onto the PlayStation Store and I found just little gems like Unfinished Swan. I never would have thought to play that until I got my PlayStation Vita. 3/4 Home, Super Meat Boy, Claire, Spelunky, Fez, Terraria, Thomas Was Alone, Valhalla, Limbo. I play Limbo on my Vita. If I have a choice between my Vita or my PlayStation 4 or my PlayStation 3 or anything, I will choose the Vita. It's the greatest platform for me to play on. It's like that plucky underdog sports team. You just gotta root for it because it has so much stacked up against it, but the people behind it, the fans behind it, love it so much that they just want to see it succeed. And when it does succeed, it feels so good to be a part of it. Whenever anyone announces that they're going to be bringing a game to the Vita, I get so happy, and it makes me want to buy their games more, which I think is a pretty cool thing for the developers. If the developers know that everyone who has a Vita gets so excited and just really wants to get those games, man, I think that's why it lasted so long. That's why indie developers made so much for the PlayStation Vita, because of the people who have Vitas. Because the people who own them just really love to play games on it. And I know one of the big things about the handhelds is just gaming on the go. So it was amazing to play Final Fantasy X again, where I could bring it around and just have a blast playing one of my all-time favorite games anywhere. I could be at a restaurant. I could be walking down the street. I could be on the train. I could be in class not paying attention to the teacher. But one of the best things for me was being able to play in bed, just to be super comfortable and sit there like in the dark room trying to get tired but not end up being tired because I'm focusing on getting my limit breaks and I'm focusing on getting new materia for my party. And then, oh my goodness, Digimon Cyber Sleuth It's sleuthed my sleep for a month and a half. Now I know this system is on its last leg. But for me and so many other owners of it, it's one of our favorites, if not our favorite system of all time. I know I'm going to hold on to mine for a long time. And when it does go, when this bad boy dies, and when I can never get another one, it's going to be a pretty sad day. Well, goodness, that was a pretty sad ending for a show that's supposed to be jovial about different stuff that I love to talk about. But if you want other episodes that are probably happier than the poor Vita going out of style, then click over here for a wonderful little episode, and then click over here for probably something else. It should be a good time. Have a great night.